I recognize Ranking Member Cantwell.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Admiral Lundy, congratulations on your nomination to serve as the Commandant of the U.S. Coast Guard. If confirmed, you will continue to lead a force of 41,000 active duty and 7,000 reserve and nearly 10,000 civilian employees as they fulfill this core mission of service, providing maritime security, law enforcement, fisheries enforcement, ice-breaking capacity, and prevention and response activities for the largest system of ports, waterways, and coast in the world. For nearly 2.5 centuries, the Coast Guard has answered the call through hurricanes, oil spills, search and rescue missions, and national emergencies. From the icy waters of the Arctic to the ports of Puget Sound, coasties keep America safe, protect our environment, and keep commerce moving. But the Coast Guard is not without its challenges, especially at this moment, and I'll have many questions for you, Admiral Lundy, about how you plan to address those challenges. Unlike your predecessor, you've been serving as acting commandant for nearly 10 months, so you've been in the room, I should say, already making decisions that directly impact the Coast Guard's future. First, I have serious concerns about whether the Coast Guard is pulling back from its core mission of search and rescue. There are 23 vacant search and rescue stations with 0 permanent staffing or assets. Even more concerning, the Coast Guard informed the committee that there is no plan to reopen these stations. And there are reports of phased plans to shutter even more stations amid rumors about potentially privatizing search and rescue. While none of the current closures impact the state of Washington, our fishermen are impacted when they are crabbing off of Coos Bay or North Bend, Oregon, and they find Coast Guard small boat air rescue stations shuttered. The Dungeness crab industry is one of the most dangerous fisheries in the nation, and they rely on the Coast Guard. Admiral Lundy, I expect you to provide clarity on that issue. I also expect you to address morale issues I'm hearing at the service. We need to make sure that in the backdrop of the firing of Commandant Admiral Linda Fagan 18 months before the end of her Senate-confirmed term. That's never happened. Days later, Admiral Fagan was evicted from her home. And at the same time, I think this is an appalling way to treat a top military officer who served the country with distinction. And it's not a responsible way to govern. It sends a clear message throughout the ranks that professional independence can be overridden by political preferences. Meanwhile, there are still serious questions about resources. Last month, the Coast Guard purchased 2 luxury executive aircraft for more than $172 million, using funds intended for those search and rescue missions, particularly the C-130s. So, Admiral Lundy, I expect to ask about that particular issue this morning as well. The Coast Guard plays an important role in assessing impacts like the I-5 bridge and what impact it would have on military and maritime traffic, and completing a preliminary assessment is necessary for the Department of Transportation to finish its environmental review, so I expect the Coast Guard to complete that assessment promptly so we can get closer to replacing this bridge that's 108 years old. I also expect the Coast Guard to address the urgent issues at Station Cape Disappointment, a critical Coast Guard unit in the Pacific Northwest and vital training for our coastal surfmen. These includes emergency damage and shoaling that has occurred at the base. We need a comprehensive strategy to invest in Cape Disappointment to ensure that it can continue to do its search and rescue mission. And I would like to return to the operation of fouled anchor. The Coast Guard's decades-long mishandling of the sexual conduct cases at the Coast Guard Academy. As chair of this committee, I worked with Senators Baldwin and Cruz and Sullivan to initiate a DHS Inspector General investigation into the Coast Guard cover-up. It's been 2 years, and I'm still waiting for the results. I expect the Inspector General to finish this work without delay and for the Coast Guard to fully cooperate with the investigation. Rest assured that we will continue to hold the Coast Guard accountable on these issues. The committee worked together to draft common sense legislation, and the Senate's Coast Guard Authorization Act of 2025 would expand Coast Guard authorities and programs to hold perpetrators accountable, enhance investigations, and the legal process to improve victim recovery services and access to all, including the boosting of training. So I'll look forward to hearing about how we improve the accountability there, Admiral, and your leadership on that particular issue. Again, congratulations on your nomination.